revealed. Me too. Now, the year is now 1836. Yes, this is one of my favorite years for many reasons. Firstly, I wasn't in the workforce yet. And secondly, Edgar was in love. Aww. And who was the lucky lady, you might ask? Well, none other than Miss Virginia Clem herself. Now, at the time of their marriage, Edgar was indeed 27 years old, and Miss Clem, 13. No. It gets worse. She was his first cousin. Now I know what you're all thinking, but listen, don't go being all judgmental. I know in today's day and age, that kind of relationship is strictly taboo. But I can guarantee you that back then, it was just as fucked up. And who would bless a marriage like this, you might ask? Well, none other than Miss Virginia Clem's own mother. She blessed this marriage under the condition that she could live with them for the rest of her days. Yay, in-laws. But they were happy. They lived in bliss for many years. And as Virginia entered her early 20s, she began to venture out of the house less and less. And eventually out of her room less and less. Until she was bedridden. The year is now 1846, and Edgar just finished penning a poem that he would sell to a local newspaper for $9. That is about $350 in today's money. And this poem would receive a lot of criticism because now not only were animals a central theme within his works, but so too was the untimely death of young ladies. Yes, many people said that he was penning his poor Virginia into an early grave, but folks, that's not true. It was the progression of the disease that would take her life. A disease known as... Who said syphilis? No! Pay attention.
18.
Tuberculosis would take her life.
18, yes.
And now, Edgar was alone. And many people said that this poem was a way of him keeping poor Virginia's spirit by his side late at night in their bedroom chambers where any tapping at the window or scratching at the doors may be the sign of something far more sinister. Folks, we would like to present to you arguably his most famous work. So let's all give a big round of applause for our next performer, The Raven.
Use my phone instead. My phone is far superior. It doesn't care about that glare, but if you help me get this one.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, as I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, rapping at my chamber door, "only this and nothing more." I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I'd sought to borrow from my books, surcease the sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. The lonely sat uncertain, rustling in each velvet curtain, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. And so to slow my heart in beating, I sat and kept repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating, entrance at my chamber door." To slow my heart in beating, I kept repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating, entrance at my chamber door, only this and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so quietly you came tapping, and so gently you came rapping, and I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore? This I whispered, and an echo murmured back to the word, Lenore. Only this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Once again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. Clearly it's at my window lattice. Let us see then what they at us in this mystery explore. To still my beating heart, let this mystery explore, just the wind and nothing more. Ere I opened wide the shutter, and with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a moment stopped nor stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door. Perched above the bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. Perched and sat, and nothing more. Now this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grim and grave countenance of the expression that it bore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, surely thou art no craven, ancient, grim, and ghastly raven on the night's Plutonian shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Then the bird said, nevermore. Long I marveled at this ungainly fowl to speak so plainly, but its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being was ever blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Was ever blessed with seeing bird or beast above the sculptured bust above his chamber door with such a name as nevermore. But the raven sat there lonely, stating that one word only, as if within it its entire soul it did outpour. Not a feather then it fluttered, not another word it uttered, and I but scarcely muttered, other friends have come before. By the morning you shall leave me, as my dreams have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled by the silence broken, by a reply so aptly spoken, but surely its expression merely stock and store, caught from some unknown master, victim of some sad disaster, followed fast and followed faster, till its song its burden bore. Till the death toll of its song its burden bore, with such a name as nevermore. But once again this bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, ere I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then into the cushion sinking, long I sat there wondering, thinking, fancy into fancy linking, what this bird meant in croaking, this ancient, grim, and ghastly gaunt bird meant in croaking nevermore. Then at last, my head reclining, I sat awhile, soul dividing, on the velvet cushion lining that the lamplight floated o'er, on the velvet violet lining that she shall press, nevermore. Then I thought the air grew denser, perfumed from some unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls fell upon the tufted floor. Wretch, said I, my God hath sent thee, by the angels he hath lent thee. Respite and empty from my memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, and empty to forget his lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Wretch, said I, thing of evil, prophet still it bird or devil, whether tempter sent or tempest tossed thee from the nightly shore, On this desert isle enchanted, in this home with war haunted, but my soul remains undaunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me truly, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Wretch, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us and by that God we do adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden that within the distant Aden he shall clasp a radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. He shall clasp a saintly maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word, be our sign of parting, fiend or bird, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest of the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of the lie thou soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beat from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven still is sitting, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid busted palace just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of the demons that he's dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws its shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies upon the floor, shall be lifted nevermore.